Hi everybody, welcome to today's hot topic video, which is 5 reasons that late talking children refuse to play with parents. My name is Marcy Melzer and I am an intuitive speech and language pathologist, and I help parents teach their late talking children how to use the words they need to share their wisdom with the world. And I do that in my Waves of Communication parent coaching program. And one of the things that I have seen across the board, pretty much in every family that's in my program, is they have this situation. They've been working with their kids. They've been trying very hard to get them to try to use words and talk with them, but their kids don't want to have any part of it. They don't want to play with them, and unfortunately, the more they try, the more their kids recoil. And this situation is a bummer for a lot of families, because what happens is your kiddos don't like to work with you, so that you have trouble teaching them things, especially things that aren't their idea. So what I'm going to tell you about on this video is 5 reasons that happens. And the reason that I'm talking about it like that and telling you why it's going on is because in order to solve this problem, you need to come up with and understand the root cause of why it's going on in your household. So one of these 5 reasons is pretty much where it goes, and it could be more than one of them too. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. So thanks for joining me, everybody who's jumping on this video. I really appreciate you all watching me, all of the folks who are seeing me here on Facebook and on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. All right, so let's dig in and talk about the first reason. That most late talkers, many late talkers, probably the primary reason or the thing that turns them off the most from working with parents and playing with parents is what's going on in their therapy or school. So the number one reason that kids don't like to play with parents is because they're overworked and overstructured already all day in their therapy situation. So if your child is at school or in a program, an ABA program, for example, where your child is working for multiple hours with therapists, one-on-one or in a group, but the one-on-one time, especially with ABA, the kiddos who are in ABA for 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, which is pretty typical, or even longer sometimes, those kids all day long have someone one-on-one for the most part working on getting them talking, working on getting them to change, working on getting them to try new things, working on whatever, okay? And all of that work that's going on in therapy and school is your child's job, right? Wherever they're not with you, they're over there with the therapists, learning what they're supposed to be learning, the behaviors they're working on, the speech, all of that, right? So what happens is kids get burnt out of working. And of course, any kind of therapy that's going to be intervention for kids, any therapist, no matter what kind of therapy it is, PT, OT, speech therapy, ABA therapy, behavior direction, all of that, it all is going to be surrounded with activities that should resemble play. So the speech therapist is going to be playing with toys and puzzles and things like that. The occupational therapist might have swings or work on the playground, and your ABA teacher is going to be working with pictures and words and things like that in a structured setting, right? So the more structured the rest of your child's time is, the less they're going to want to have that structured time with you, because that's their work. And inevitably, in therapy of any kind, the therapist is going to be presenting your child with challenging things to do, hopefully in a way that's fun, that they're engaging with them, because otherwise, if it isn't fun, it isn't fun. You'll hear me say that all the time, but any good therapist knows that. If whatever you're doing isn't fun for the child, they're never going to buy in to do it, so they make their therapy even though it's structured, especially with ABA, has to be structured in a certain way in order to meet the guidelines and things like that. But a speech therapist who has your child sit in one seat to do work, or those kinds of things where the therapist is directing the activity, they're going to want to make it look like play. And what's going to happen is your child's going to come home, and there is you. You're the parent. You're the place your child goes or is supposed to or should or understands to go for comfort and fun and love and interaction and enjoyment. They don't use you, they don't look at you as someone else to provide them with more work. They get that at their other therapy all day long. So if your child, especially if your child is in a program where it's highly structured during the day, they don't want to have any part of that at home. They're done. It's just like you, if you go to a job, especially if it's a job that you don't like this is even more important a reason that kids don't play with parents if they don't like that other therapy. If they cry when they go to therapy, if they aren't engaging with the therapist, if the therapist is spending a lot of their session trying to get your child engaged with doing the thing they're doing because your child's resistant to it already. I mean, late talkers don't like using words, right? And a speech therapist's job is to get your child to like that stuff while they're in the therapy session with you. So they're going to be trying all the tricks they can to get your child to like that toy with them. And your child, like most kids who have issues, they're going to do what the therapist asks them to do, and that's it. They're going to do just what they have to do to meet the need of the task they're presented with. If the therapist says, match these pictures, or say this word, or jump on this trampoline, or whatever, the child's job is to comply with that direction. And so at home, if you are playing with toys and flashcards and things like that, like the speech therapist, and providing them with direction to do, and your child's not totally down with it, totally having fun, totally enjoying the activity, they're not going to do it. Just like they avoid it with the therapist, they avoid it with you. And therapists have tricks and triggers that you don't have. First of all, they're not you. And you're, again, the comfort zone person. And the therapist has the luxury of the newness. They have the reward system they're working with. If it's stickers or whatever they're using, they have that reward system they've got already entrenched in the therapy to get your child to do what they're doing. You don't have those reward systems at home when you're just wanting to play with your child. So just trying to do what they do at home isn't going to work for a parent. And it's why, and the reason why is because they're done. They're done with therapy. Therapy time is for therapy. And a child will separate that just based on who you are. So that's the first reason that many kids don't like doing that. Now, if your child isn't in any kind of therapy, there is something else that's going on. And what's going on is the play that you're doing at home. If you have looked at a program or taken these ideas from your therapist or whatever, what I wrote down here is that what you're offering your child to do at home, even if it's not the same as the therapist's, what you're offering them to do at home isn't really play. It's really work, right? So if you, let's say you're a mom who watched a video that I did about using puzzles, and you ran out and got a puzzle and you came home to try to use that puzzle with your child. If you are presenting that task from your perspective, like, this is how we're going to play with this puzzle. I want you to do this and this and this, and you be the teacher about it. You try to do it that way with the puzzle. That's not play. That's teaching, which is great, and a lot of parents teach a lot of kids, but here's the thing with late talkers. They see it coming a mile away. If they've had therapy, especially if they've had therapy, they know what it looks like when the puzzle comes out and they say, let's look at these, or things like that. The kids know that what you're doing if you present them with a new toy is work, and that's because you've done it that way before, okay? Maybe the first time when your babies are babies that you present them with toys, you present them with, let's explore this thing or play with this thing together. Or alternatively, and this is what happens when kids stop playing with parents, is they shift. They used to play with toys just to play, but if your child doesn't know how, then you as a parent shift into teacher mode, and you're going to show your child how to play with that toy. And while kids need to learn how to play with toys because they don't know how to play with them, if it's your agenda and you're playing with the toy either by how they say in the description or how you think you should play with it, or maybe you had that toy when you were younger and that's how you played with it with the child, it's still your agenda. It's not the child's agenda. And a late talking child, as soon as they see you with an agenda that's not just give it to me, or give it let's have it be fun or easy, if it's not their agenda, they're not going to be interested. It has to be their idea, especially with a strong-willed late talker, which most of them are. These kids are used to doing things in their own way. Their talking system didn't work before. Communication using words didn't work for them, so they've developed something else. It's the same with their play. If structured play is something that they're avoiding because they do it all day, they are looking innately for the opposite. They need the opposite to do in their free time. It's like you, if you work at an ice cream store for your job, you're not going to go home and eat ice cream. If these kids are playing with puzzles all day at therapy, or even in their whole speech therapy session, or it's something that they do that they've been struggling with or working on in therapy, bringing it home to work on it more is not what your child wants to do in their free time. Just like you don't want to do your work in your free time when they're off the clock, when they're not in therapy or school, they don't want to do it. So that's the second reason, is that what you're playing with your child isn't play, it's still teaching. And that's why your child doesn't want to do it, because they see it coming. All right, the third reason, and this is really the reason that kids stop playing with you, especially if they used to do it before, is because they have lost trust in you that you are their solution finder, right? So your child, their whole life, they skin their knee, they fall down, they cry, somebody takes something from them, they want something to eat. You're the one who's always solved those problems for them. You're the problem solver parent, right? The parents are always the problem solver, especially the moms. If there's a problem, who solves it for the child? The parents. So what happens with so many late talkers is all through their life, you as the parent have been their problem solver. And now you're not solving that problem so freely anymore. You're making your child work. So this is what happens when you change the rules. So the rules used to be, I smile at you sideways and I'd get what I want. Or I'd climb on the cabinet and point and you would fetch the thing for me. Or you didn't want me to climb on the cabinet, so you put everything within reach. And now you've moved everything. You've locked the doors. You've put stuff out of reach, and you make the child say something or give you a sign or a picture or something like that. They used to get what they wanted just by communicating however they used to communicate, and now you're changing the rules. Now you're saying that, hey, I know you want this lollipop. I know you can say lollipop because you said it before, so now every time you want a lollipop, you're going to have to do something else. You're going to have to say it, sign it, give me a picture, something like that. And that's swapping out the rules, and that kind of stinks. It's just sort of like when you go to work and your boss says, okay, you do your job, you get paid if you come here and you work 8 to 5. and you get an hour lunch break, and that's how you're gonna, your whole work's gonna go. And you're like, great, you take the job, you work there for a year, and you've been working 8 to 5, and you get an hour lunch, and you get your paycheck, and now the boss says, okay, sorry, we're not gonna pay you any more money. We're gonna give you the same money, but now you've got to work a little bit harder, and you get a shorter break. So now you've got to work from 8 to 6, and you only get a half-hour lunch break. You've changed 2 rules at the same time, your boss. You're not going to like it. You're going to be resistant to that. And you're going to, a lot of people, if you're in a union, you might strike for that kind of thing. You might quit working altogether when the boss changes the rules. And that's what happens with a lot of late talkers when their parents shift their playing into working. So now it's not just toys, but everything, you know. So what happens is now your child doesn't trust that when they communicate something to you, you're going to respond in a way that they get what they want, or you understand their thing. You're going to make them work harder. So then they don't trust you even coming to you with the message anymore. They're going to shift and want to do things on their own. Well, every time I bring this to mom, she's going to make me work harder, so I'm going to figure out a way to do it by myself. And that's how kids learn to get all of their needs met on their own, because they know they can't trust you to do it without making them work harder. So that's the third reason. Your child's lost trust that you're a problem solver for them. And they start to solve their problems on their own, including communication. All right, so that's the third one. The fourth one is that the reason that kids don't play with you is because life in general is harder for them. And they've lost trust in you. You're wanting to teach them, but again, you've made it harder for just those other things in life. So if you're having your child ask for things and you're prompting them all the time, it's not just, again, when you're playing, but you're doing it all the time, then the playtime is going to detract too. So let's say, and it doesn't even have to be related. If you start to make general life more difficult, then playtime is your child's not going to differentiate between, hey, this is fun, and hey, this is work, right? Life in general is harder, and kids don't like it when it's hard. Okay? It used to be easy, and now it's hard. And it's not even that it's more work that you're having them do, which is what they just said. You know, first of all, you've made the task more, there's more of it for them to do. They have to work longer, but they also have to work harder at tasks that they don't like. And you make them change, okay? And change for kids is hard, especially without a reinforcement, because now you've taken away the thing that they want. You've made it harder for them to get it, so they're just going to give up trying. And they don't understand that the difference between getting a lollipop or asking for a drink of water or something to eat out of the fridge or getting a hug or jumping on a trampoline or going to their thing they want to get, they don't understand how that's any different than sitting down to play pretend play together or read a book together or enjoy time looking out the window or having fun while you go visit. They don't know the difference. They think life is hard in general, so they're going to retreat inside themselves to find where it's easier, how they can feel good about it, about life. Because when life is hard, you don't feel good about it. And when the person who makes life hard is your mom and dad, then you avoid your mom and dad. It's just how it goes. That's how they're going to avoid it. And number 5, the number 5 thing is that you are always putting pressure on your child for improvement, okay? So if you think that, you know, he can do it. I know he can do it, so I'm going to help him do it. I'm going to make him do it. I'm going to hold out. I'm going to wait. You know, all those things. Sorry, excuse my nose is itching. Somebody must be thinking about me. If you are always putting pressure on your child. See, the thing that happens is when kids start to retreat from parents because they are doing what therapists do, and they've shifted things and they've made difference, and kids start to retreat, what often happens is parents push harder. They think that kids are choosing to not do this interaction, and so they're just going to make them want to choose it by forcing the issue. So it's like taking out the trash. If your child is older, or when you were a kid, now you think about this when you were a kid and your job was taking out the trash, but you didn't like it because you had to, whatever, you didn't like it for whatever reason. And you know, it was your job and you didn't do it, so you avoided it, right? So you avoid taking, you procrastinate, you don't like it, you avoid it. What do your parents do to get you to try to take out the trash? In my case, they got louder. Did you take out the trash today? They nagged me about it. Or in my dad's case, he just got loud about it and yelled, "You're not taking out the trash. It's your job to take out the trash. You know you can do it. You know it's your responsibility. You've done it before. You do it every week. How come every week we have to tell you 80 times to take out the trash?" Right? If you're thinking like that, I don't understand why he won't talk. He knows how to do it, and he's done it before, and I ask him all the time to do it. I don't understand why he won't do it. So what do? You ask him more. And what does that do to a child? It puts them off more. The more pressure you put, frequency and severity. So if you nag your child over and over and over again, if you're trying to get them to say a phrase like, "I want juice," every time they say juice, and all they'll do is say juice, and you make them say, "I want juice," even though they've already said juice, and you do it every single time because you know that if you don't do it one time, they might slip and then never say, "I want juice," because if you don't make them do it, no one else is going to make them do it. If you're making them do it, they're going to run away. They're not going to like it. Nobody wants to be made to do anything, right? Nobody wants to be forced to do anything. Your child didn't sign up to be your child. They're just your child, and they're late talking. You as a parent can't be putting pressure on them to do things that are hard. You just can't. Otherwise, they're going to shut down on you, just like you would shut down on an authoritarian boss. You would talk bad about them. You would talk under your breath about them. You would start to refuse what they want you to do, even though it's your job and you go there every day and they're paying you. Maybe it's the best paying job in the world and they're paying you $100,000 a year, but it's terrible. You go there every day and it's like a tyrant. They never lay off. They're always nagging you, right? So if you continue to nag your child, then you're not going to be able to get them to buy in, right? That same boss who has this same job for you to do could make it easier on you, couldn't they? They could make it happier and more pleasant about your work, but if they pressure you, you're going to recoil. So those are the 5 things. I'm going to recap them really quick with some catchphrases so you can see. The first one is, their life is over-structured and over-pressured outside of your home, and they're tired of it and they don't like it. Or they're tired from it because they've worked all day and they don't want to work at home. That's the first reason. They just don't want to do more work. The second one is that what you're offering isn't play, it's more work. Okay? So if your child doesn't want to do more work when they come home after work and you're offering them work, again, they're going to recoil from it. If it looks like work, if it smells like work, if they sense it's work, they're out. Third thing, general life is harder. You're making your child change from their current communication patterns into a new communication pattern. If they're using gestures, dragging you around, even if they're using a picture system to communicate with you and you want to change that, change is hard. So you have to make those strategies easier. And then that was the fourth thing. The third thing, sorry, I swapped them up in my notes. Your child has lost trust in you that you're the problem solver. okay? Because you're causing them to have more problems by continuing to prompt them. They've lost trust in you. That's why they don't want to play with you. They think all play is work, okay? And the fifth one is that the pressure is constant, that you're constantly nagging, that it's not only more work, it's not only harder work, but they're constantly being pressured to do it, okay? So those are the 5 things that cause late talkers to not want to play with you and not want to learn from you. Okay, so now what I want you to do now is I'm going to give you a series of questions to ask yourself to find out what it is that's causing your child in your household to not want to play with you. And the first thing is, what makes you as an individual, as a parent, refuse to do something, okay, when someone asks you? If someone asks you to do something, what makes you turn off? The way they asked you, how they asked you, what is it about that? And then think about how you are asking your child to do things and look at how that matches. The second thing is, when someone is asking you to do something and you don't want to do it, what is the line that they crossed that makes you tap out? What is it about that request that makes you turn off? And think about, what is it about the requests that you're making of your child when you want to play with them? The way you're presenting that play activity that could be turning them off, okay? So think about that. And then think about this. How do you and your child have fun together? Because if what you're offering them doesn't match that, they're not going to buy in. It has to be fun for them, or they're not going to buy in and try, especially if it's a challenge or a change, because change is a challenge in itself. It doesn't have to be, just because your child knows how to do it, they're not in the habit of using it, and habit change is hard. So think about what you have had to do. Ask yourself, what did I have to do to change a habit of my own? And what did it take for me to buy into the new shift, the new way of thinking? I myself lost a bunch of weight. I also detoxed off of medication. People quit drinking, people quit smoking, all different kinds of things that you have had to change in your life. Think about the adaptation you had to do to live with your partner. Think about the adaptation you had to do to live with your baby, right? Kids have to make those adaptations, and if you don't take those needs into consideration, they're not going to buy in, all right? And then here's the big question. Who is this new skill or behavior or word or language or whatever, who is that ultimately helping? Okay, is this new thing that you're teaching your child gonna make your child's life better? Or is it gonna make your life better? Because your child's not gonna buy in, especially something like communication and play, unless it's gonna make their life better. And how is this play that you're presenting with your child, the teaching play, the learning play, the language play, how is that helping make your child's life better? Because if what you're doing isn't, they're not going to buy in. It has to be something that they find useful or helpful or necessary in their own life, or they're going to avoid it. Okay, it's all about problem solving to figure out how to get your child to play with you. And asking those questions are going to be a way to help you solve that problem for your child. Okay, so those are the 5 reasons that late talkers stop playing, avoid playing, or don't even start playing with their parents. This can happen with kids as young as 2 years old. okay? Many parents, especially with the whole concept of early intervention, early and intensive intervention. If your child has been in ABA since 2 years old or younger than 2 years old or whatever, or even 2.5 years old, and they're 5 years old now, they've been under pressure for a long time. If your child is 2 years old and they're in ABA and structured therapy for 30 hours a week, 20 hours a week, 10 hours a week even, and it's all structured time, your child learns that that's all there is. Like, that's what learning is, because they're spending a huge chunk of their time in this activity. And they learn that that's what's expected of them by other people, whether they like it or not. Your child doesn't choose to go to therapy for 20 hours a week. You choose to take them there, right? Now, if your child is having a ball and learning and doing all kinds of fabulous stuff in that 20 hours a week, then they're going to want to play with you at home, and they're going to want to show you those skills. So if they're not doing it, then really look hard at what they're getting out of that other time, because you could be doing better potential communication, intervention, and language facilitation at home with your child. Better than what's happening at school, because you can get your child to buy in. That's the thing about all this. All of these problems, 1 through 5, all of these things that cause your child to stop wanting to play with you or not want to play with you, you can fix every single one of them, okay? You as parents, in fact, as I said before, you are the only ones who can fix this, because remember, change in habit and change in communication and change in play and change in anything requires habit change, and that requires problem solving, okay? And remember, your child looks to you to solve all their problems. You as parents are the problem solving unit. They go to therapy to learn skills on how to do things on their own, but they come to you to solve their problems. And this problem of not playing naturally and fun is going to hold your child back, because that's how kids learn. That's how they really integrate skills, is by doing things that they are motivated to do, that they want to do, that they see as valuable to them. You're not going to learn anything new unless you see value in it. And at therapy, if it's a reward-based, then your child sees the value in doing that thing is by getting the reward. They don't see that the value in the play is the fun, natural engagement with you. Anytime there's a reward or a bribe or if you do that, you get this. Anytime there is that in the play, then it's not play anymore. It's work, because there's a reward, right? So it can't have any of those things. It can't have pressure. It can't have work, because then it's not play anymore. It's the opposite of play. It's work, right? And it's not fun. Now, work can be fun, and you can turn play into work into play as long as your child thinks it's fun and they see value in it. And that's when language facilitation comes into play, and that's how parents can do it. And parents in my program are doing it all over the world. They're giving up these 5 things, and their kids are playing with them, they're interacting with them, and they're learning how to trust their parents again, so that they can play and engage and learn from their parents in a natural way that's not based on any kind of reward system or bribe or pressure or prompt or any of that. It happens because it happens, because you want to. And that's how language has to develop. And that's how play has to develop too. And when you do get it done, when you do develop this play and nice interaction with your child, and your child does learn how to learn from you, then you can teach them all the fabulous things that you've been trying to teach them before they've bought in, before they lost trust in you as a teacher, as a mom and a dad. Okay? So that's what I have to share with you today about this whole topic of late talking kids refusing to play with parents. If you want to know more about all of this and you want to learn how to work with me, you can check out my website at wavesofcommunication.com. There's a free class there to teach you all about how this works and how late talkers get to be late talking and how parents are the best language facilitators and the best ones to get your kids to play with you. So thanks again for watching, everybody. I really appreciate if you like this video. If you find value in it and you know other parents who are stuck in these situations, share this video with them so that they can learn about what's going on with their late talker too. And I will see you all on my next live video.